Hello, and welcome to The Horrible Idea, a podcast about horror movies. I'm Stephanie, and I'm here with the Salmon of Knowledge, Jack.
Here lies Jack, protected by the ejaculation of serpents.
Was that a part I missed?
That was on one of the gravestones that they went in the 73 version. And
I figured it was 73.
It captured my imagination.
There is all of the horniness in 73 and zero of the horniness in 06.
In what movie, you may ask?
We're talking this week about the Wicker Man, both the 1973 and the 2006 versions. So to kick it off, the original was released on December 6th, 1973, directed by Robin Hardy, screenplay by Anthony Schaffer. The budget was £500,000, and this is the number I saw online, and it was hard to believe, but I could only find it in US dollars, but it was $58,341. But this version has a pretty high rating from IMDb, 7.5, Rotten Tomatoes 89, and Rotten Tomatoes audience 82.
Certainly higher than the one I'm going to mention. The 2006 version released on September 1st, directed and written by Neil LaBute. Budget was $40 million. Box office was 38.8, so they just about came in even.
Almost cleared it.
Yeah. IMDb gave it a 3.7. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 15. And the audience was 17, so kind of in agreement.
But they liked it 2% better. I wonder what that 2% was.
Probably the bees. What did you know about this going in?
Well, so I had actually seen the 06 version before, primarily from a place of, I've heard this is terrible, and they covered it on How Did This Get Made?
Also, you are a Nic Cage completionist.
Oh, the work that you would have to do to be a Nic Cage completist is, he's made so many movies and so many are bad.
I definitely saw this, the 73 as a teenager. I don't remember it. It's sort of blended together with a couple of other movies that are sort of similar. But the 2000s...
What movie is similar to this?
The White Worm. There's a bunch of weird Scottish things. But 2006 I saw in theaters and also did not remember it. I totally remember Not the Bees being in the film, but apparently it was not in the theatrical cut.
So this is a bone I have to pick with The Ghost of Steve Jobs and Tim Cook, because I rented this movie on iTunes, and it was not the Bees version. Luckily, I've seen that version before, but I got to the end, and then he was getting hoisted into the Wicker Man, and I was like, what the hell? I've been bamboozled. No bees.
Bamboozled. I was surprised too. I did not remember that. But we got a lot to get into, so let's just dive into our favorite characters.
Yeah, absolutely. So, for the 1973 version, I definitely got to say Lord Summerisle.
Absolutely.
So also just right off the bat, they do pluralize it in the 06 version, right? It's Summers Isle. But then in the...
I believe so.
73, it's just Summer Isle. Anyway, I think I like Summer Isle better. But, yeah. I mean, Christopher Lee just killing it. Just, doing... I wouldn't even say doing the most. He's just doing the exact right amount.
It's true. Christopher Lee, who has made 275 motion pictures, considered The Wicker Man to be his favorite film that he did. And
he's just putting in the work.
Yeah. No, I really loved him. His weird singing. He just sort of lounging about.
Yeah, his
Oh
costume
my
for
God.
when they revealed his costume, I had to pause the movie and take like a photo of my TV because I was just like, this is top level shit here.
Also, his hair, both in its normal state and in the windy state, it was amazing.
It's so great. So besides Lord Summerisle, I would say, I mean, I just, all of the villagers in the 73 version are great. They're all like just sort of weird, and like have a little bit more like levity to them than the '06 villagers.
Oh, absolutely.
The whole movie has more levity to it, but for the '06 version, even though they're very dour, I really like Francis Conroy's doctor/photographer.
Right.
And Molly Parker as Sister Rose. Not so much as Sister Thorne. Sister Thorne is a little,
Prickly?
leaves me a little cold. But yeah, Molly Parker as Sister Rose is great.
She was. And she was kind of like sassy and I don't know. She just had like, she was doing a lot of eye acting. It was good. I liked the modern Sister Rose as well. From the 73, I liked Willow, the landlord's daughter, who was charming, and I found her dance to be refreshing.
I called this like a mile away. The minute she showed up on the screen, I was like, tick, that's Jack's character of the movie.
I don't have all the names, but apparently the actress who played her is, I think, German or French, and
Britt Eklund.
Britt Eklund, yeah. And she was a model, and she actually, her voice was dubbed by a different actress, and then her singing was dubbed by still another actress.
Oh, that wasn't even her voice when she was talking?
No, she has a very
wow.
thick accent.
Sure.
In the modern version, I also like Lily Sobieski, but I always like her. She's fun. But
I like when she does karate.
Yeah.
Like toward the end.
there's a lot of lady punching in this. Like,
yeah. But some of them punch back.
it's true.
You know?
It's true. And I liked Nic Cage, but he's Nic Cage, and
Yeah.
I was thinking about him as in the same sort of way as Keanu Reeves, who I love, but they both sort of play the same guy with, slight variations. Sometimes they sort of try an accent for the first half of the film. But they're always kind of just playing the same guy. And so this is like Nic Cage just on a weird island.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I did also love a lot of what he was doing. So why don't we do a plot breakdown? And we're going to keep this kind of brief since they're pretty similar.
Yeah.
But with a couple of key differences.
So in the 73 version, Sergeant Howie arrives on a small Scottish island of Summerisle to investigate the report of a missing child. He is a conservative Christian policeman who observes the residents' frivolous sexual displays and strange pagan rituals, particularly the temptations of Willow. The more Sergeant Howie learns about the island's strange practices, the closer he gets to tracking down the missing girl.
So in '06, a reclusive lawman travels to a secluded island to search for a girl who has gone missing. Once there, he discovers sinister forces at work among the island's secretive residents, including strange sexual rituals, a harvest festival, and possible human sacrifice.
Yeah.
Now, I'll say, we pulled this description from the internet. For the '06 version, the only bone I have to pick is, were there strange sexual rituals? It seemed very chaste.
If they were strange sexual rituals, they were strange in that they were very boring.
Yeah.
And also there were no men. I mean, not having men in your sexual ritual, it could still be strange and fun, but the men were weird and I don't.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was the guy with the logs who didn't talk.
None of them talk. I think maybe they didn't have tongues or something. because there was only like one that spoke, and there was a scene where he like goes into the bar and he's like, "You got to help me. I'm Nic Caging it out," and he like grabs a guy and the guy's just like blah, and he doesn't like he can't speak.
I must have been looking at my phone at that point.
Yeah,
I won't lie. The 06 version lost me at a lot of points.
The 06 version is a slog, and the 73 version is very 70s, and it's super hippie weird, but Charm City. And I just, well, we'll get into it because we're going to talk about, which island we want to go to, and I don't want to spoil that. But so
yeah, let's not step on our segments.
Yeah.
So, were there any scary themes in this for you?
Well, yeah, it was interesting. We've been sort of comparing and contrasting some of the different slasher movies. It was really nice to like look at these two in a sort of, not to say we're scholars, but to look at it in like a scholarly way, and just like Scotland, like Washington being the Scotland of America. I was kind of thinking about that, and it kind of makes sense.
That's a good point. Yeah, Puget Sound.
Yeah,
right.
But the 73 is very much like a Christian man confronting paganism, and
dear God, he reminds you that he's a Christian every 5 minutes. And he really rolls the R. He's like, I'm a Christian man.
Onward, Christian soldier. Yeah. So yeah, it's that fear of like, of the other, the sexuality, paganism, like the fear of change, of hippies, of like the order that you have relied on for your life, going missing, and the sort of like mob coming to get you, which is sort of very interesting when you look at it like that. Whereas the modern one is a guy sort of going into a more conservative island where everyone's sort of like not talking a lot and dressed sort of dowdy, and then there's this weird like feminist sort of like, but like feminist in like a bad way.
Yeah, like I think at one point Sister Summersisle is like, oh, we love our men, we just don't let them rule us, or something like that. Right. And I was like, well, I think you went past letting them rule you to the point of like full subjugation. Which, I don't know that I totally disagree with it, but it didn't seem like they were having fun with it. So
No. The people on the island, except for maybe Lily, would seem like the only person having fun on the island, and maybe Sister Rose once in a while. But yeah, so he's sort of the horror in the modern version is sort of being disconnected by technology and again like mob rule and the ever-present fear of bees.
Oh my God, so many bees. And yeah, and the horror of losing your self-help on tape thing, because like he had that It's Okay book on tape, right, with the guy on the front, like and he kept losing it or misplacing it. So yeah, I mean, this is these are both listed online as horror movies, but
yeah. Well, I mean,
they're kind of horror movies. I would say they're like less horror than even Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, definitely. But I mean, if you look at them, they're also movies where like the protagonist dies at the end, which is,
sure.
Even for horror movies, that's sort of not the norm. There's no final girl. Maybe it's Leela Sobieski. It's interesting. I found the first one so successful in like what it was trying to do, and although like the 2006 one was interesting in a lot of ways, it really like threw a bunch of stuff up. And not a lot of it landed. Like the whole beginning where he's like in mourning and, he's like all depressed. Like cut all that out. It would have been so much more interesting.
Yeah, the whole thing. Okay, the crash of that car with the petulant girl in the back.
Right.
we had to watch happen 3 times throughout the movie.
Right.
Like, they replayed it in full, like, 2 more times. We didn't need that. He's already got the backstory of, like, his fiance ran out on him. I feel like that's already a compelling force.
Yeah, if they just,
if there is one.
If they doubled down on that, it would have made everything he did on the island so much more, interesting.
Yeah, I feel like they could have shown, like, his breakup depression house a little more and, like, kind of seeded some of that, like, but he gets this, like, calligraphied letter, and then he kind of has an awkward conversation with some cops, and then he just goes.
Yeah. His interactions with I forget her name, the woman who his baby's mama.
Willow. Her name is also Willow.
She is so perplexingly weird. Like, she is... Well, I mean, everyone is lying to everyone, which is fine, but, like, every conversation they have doesn't make any sense on any level. Yeah, it was just weird. So, what is your favorite song from the 2006 version?
Well, from the 2006 version, none, because there are no songs.
It really could have helped.
Are there any? I don't think there are any.
No, there's no song.
Yeah, they went from... So, in 73... There's 2,000% horniness, 2,000% songs.
Right.
In 06, 0 of either.
Except for, like, the last scene
of
the 2006 one. That's the only time anyone looks horny.
Yeah, well, and, like, yeah. And it's funny because there are scenes that are nearly identical.
Yeah.
Like, when Nic Cage goes to the school and that whole interaction, it's extreme. Like, some of the lines are even word for word the same.
And maybe better. Like, that might be one of the only scenes that is, like, better than the original. It's like, it's interesting. And the teacher is a little more interesting.
Yeah, Molly Parker is a little bit. And though I will say the part of, like, getting a bunch of little girls to say phallic symbol worked better in the 73 version because they were like, what does the maypole represent? And then they're like, phallic symbol. Meanwhile, in 06, she just had to say, what does man represent in its purest form?
Which also doesn't even make any sense. Like, it's really the opposite.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. So with that being said, let's talk 73 songs.
Okay.
So my favorite 73 song was definitely the Summer Isle Maypole song, because it started off in kind of like a normal way. I don't know. They were like, there's a tree and a branch and a leaf.
In the woods there grew a tree, and a fine, fine tree was he.
And then it veers off into, like, there's a man on a girl, and there's a seed, and from that seed there's a boy, and then there's a grave, and a tree grows on the grave.
And on that bed there was a girl, and on that girl there was a man, and from that man there was a seed, and from that seed there was a boy, and from that boy there was a man, and for that man there was a grave, and from that grave there grew a tree.
And also, fun fact, I enjoyed this song so much that I played it for your roommates. And
must not be named.
Yeah, we're never going to mention their names. And one of them knew all the words to the first half of the song, which is like, we called this because he had sort of like a bucolic Scottish upbringing.
It's true. You know what that song reminded me a little bit of? Have you heard the Leonard Nimoy
Bilbo Baggins?
Yeah, Bilbo Baggins. It sort of had the same sort of meter.
Sure. Yeah, but yeah, so I loved that. And also just like there was a whole hand dance that went with it. And then also the male characters in the 73 version really take center stage because all these boys, they're at the maypole and they have like the ribbons tied around their waists and they're just kind of doing a little dance.
Yeah.
And then they like walk around the maypole. But the girls don't get to do that. They just kind of sit in a classroom and talk about phallic symbols. But
well, I mean,
anyway,
the women have other sort of scenes. One of them, a woman taking center stage in my favorite song, which is The Landlord's Daughter.
So wait, is it The Landlord's Daughter or the one where, because The Landlord's Daughter is the one where all the tavern goers are talking about how she's like a slut.
Yeah, yeah.
But
she's there and she's dancing and she's like smiling about it.
Much has been said of the strumpets of yore,
of wenches and bawdy house queens by the score. But I sing of the baggage that we all adore. The landlord's daughter, you'll never...
Oh, right. Okay, so you like that version,
Yeah.
not the one where she's alone in her room.
No.
Dancing naked.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, that's not really a song. That's more of like a dance.
Well, she does sing. I think you were just kind of, one thing kind of maybe came into the fore.
I think it was two things, actually. No, but it was just good fun and weird and just like silly.
It was very weird.
I
mean, I will say, like, it didn't seem like anyone was slut-shaming her.
No.
She was feeling good. She was fine with it.
Absolutely.
She was happy. It looked consensual all around, so...
Sure.
I'm cool with it.
And when he was like, no thanks, she's like, oh, well, you're lost. But,
Yeah.
she was down to go to Bone Town Island. I think my favorite scene... Well, I'll give my favorite scene from both quickly. So in 73, I think when the police officer first goes to meet Lord Summersisle, that is like ridiculous and amazing because he's just like, he has such a deep booming voice and he's just like, welcome to my island, everyone is having sex, why are you being such a dick?
Yeah,
I think that's exact quote. What was your favorite scene from the 73? Do you have one?
Well, I did also like when they're all preparing for the festival and Sergeant Howie's just like breaking and entering in everyone's house and like catching people fucking or preparing their costumes or whatever. And I'm just like, this guy is kind of inexplicable. He's
like,
and he doesn't even have the motivation that Nic Cage's detective does of like, this is my daughter. He's just like, it's a missing person case, but I'm giving my all.
This is a girl who's not being taught Christian values. From 2006, I liked the little coda at the end, the sort of like end scene.
Yes.
Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, and I love that it was James Franco and, is it Jason Ritter?
I don't know who the other guy was.
It's the son of Ritter. I forget what his first name is, but yeah, it was him. But yeah, that was funny. And especially they're like, oh, we thought it was lawyer night. Thank goodness you guys are here.
And how the two girls kind of whisper to each other, and then she's like, and they sort of have like an accent, like it's like a weird like half accent.
It's a very weird scene, and it's also the only time that Willow kind of looks not like terrible.
Right.
She's a beautiful woman. The actress is a beautiful woman, but they make her look awful in like the Summer Isle scenes.
I think everybody on
I guess she's supposed to be grieving or something. I don't know.
Everyone on Summer Isle except for like Ellen Burstyn and Sister Rose looks a little rough around the edges.
So my 06 favorite scene is just anytime Nic Cage is on that bike. Like, I cracked up every single time I saw him riding that bike. It's like one of those kind of like cruiser bikes too, with like the broad handlebars, and
right.
I think it had a basket, and at one point he steals Sister Rose's bike and like rides off. I don't know, man. I just was like, whoever suggested that Nic Cage traverse this island by bike,
perfect.
Chef's kiss.
He really Nic Cages out at the end. He like totally goes crazy, and So, like, again, a similar scene from the original, but more just like punching people in the face and just like grabbing little kids,
pulling guns.
Yeah. All right, so let's examine the differences between the two. Who do you prefer, Howie or Malice?
Well, so I'll say I had watched the 06 version before. I think it was last year. And then this time I watched the 73 version first. And I will say it gave me slightly more respect for Nic Cage's performance, just in that, I mean, like I said, a lot of it is sort of word for word. The whole tenor of, he doesn't have the whole Christian thing, but the whole tenor of like this police officer who's like, will stop at nothing.
Right.
Is, you know, is a through line. So it's, I don't know. So some of it gave me like 5% more respect for Nic Cage's performance. But I will give the edge here to Nic Cage, for one, because even though he's kind of depressive, he's not just being like a moralistic Christian wet blanket. And also I liked when he got stung by the bees and he woke up in Francis Conroy's house and you could see his skinny little legs. I just like that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll give it to, he was compelling. He's a compelling character. I kind of, like halfway through, I really wanted to see the 73 movie with Nic Cage in it. I think that would have been an amazing movie.
That would have been fun.
Because, like,
alas,
modern mores, you know, he goes to the island and he'd kind of, I would assume he would be more like, whoa, these people are kind of freaky and everybody's naked. And he wouldn't have that, like, gut reaction, that moralist reaction, but he'd still be like, this is weird.
I think he would maybe object to the whole thing of, like, why are we teaching children about phallic symbols? Like, maybe he would be weird about that. But I think as far as, like, the consenting adults, he would be a little less judgy.
Yeah, well, in the scene where he goes to the school and they say phallic symbol, he kind of goes, ho, school's changed a bunch since I was a kid.
That's true. That's very true. Though he was very angry that they put that crow in the desk.
That's true. Well, that's good.
That was also another thing that I was like, they did it better in 73. In 73... I mean, I guess say what you will about living creatures of any kind, but I was kind of more okay with the beetle that was, like, in the desk versus the crow.
All right.
I don't know.
All right, Miss Rose versus Miss Rose.
Oh, the edge goes to 06 for sure. Oh, Molly Parker's just amazing. Yeah. Do you object? No, I don't think there's much conversation.
She has such good skin. It's just beautiful. Yeah. That sounded weird coming out of my mouth. All right, this one, I don't see us having a difference of opinion. Lord Summerisle versus Sister Summerisle.
So, definitely goes to the Lord Christopher Lee. But I will say, in defense of Ellen Burstyn, she looks amazing.
Yeah, also good skin.
Yeah, she was glowing. I guess that royal honey, whatever they're doing for her, is working. Although I did find it kind of weird when she puts on her, like, football game war paint at the end.
She's like, go Pats.
Yeah. I guess it could be considered, like, that was, like, a Scottish thing, too. They would paint themselves. But it just looked like she was going to, like, a Gonzaga game or something. I don't know.
Yeah, no, well... the Lord Summerisle also painted, but it was just one solid color.
Yeah, he was doing like the Island of Dr. Moreau.
Sure.
Whiteface.
Which, you know, two islands you could visit in a row would be a really interesting vacation. Willow versus Willow.
Well, I know where your heart lies on this one.
I mean, how about Willow on Willow? I'm just throwing it out there, you know.
Yeah, I mean, the 06 Willow was just... She was all eyes and, like, lips. And just sort of, like, constantly pre-weep.
Sure.
Like, about to weep at any given moment. And you can tell, like, throughout that she's kind of withholding.
Right.
because like
Her
he asked
lips
her like,
were her lips. She was doing a lot of lip acting.
yeah, yeah, but like the whole time you can tell she's withholding. But anyway, yeah, I would say the 73 Willow was more fun, even though I guess it was purely a body performance.
Well, no, that's, act with your face, your eyes,
Your face is part of your body.
It was. The face is the head of the butt. Wait, what?
We took a week off, and I think we're, a well-earned week off, but,
it's true.
We're a little punchy.
Oh, yeah. All right. I think we're both going to agree here as well. Which island would you prefer to visit?
Oh, you don't want to go ride bikes with Nic Cage around in 06? Yeah, definitely 73. I mean, it just looks... There's music. There's there's lots of fornicating. It's Scotland, where I've never been. It just generally looks like a better time.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, so I'll just put it out there. The 2006 island, you have all these women, they're kind of getting rid of the men, but they don't even get into a sort of, sapphic paradise. It's really just like everyone just seems sad, and it's kind of gloomy and rainy. Yeah, no.
Well, and then they say, like, that they do, like, wasn't there some line about how they do, like, procreate with the men, but...
Right.
But then they just want, like, female children, or... It's kind of like... I don't know. There was some kind of mention of it, but I think by that point my interest was flagging. So
yeah, they just seem like a drag, man.
Yeah.
Which animal would you dress as for the festival of death and life?
Well, I did really like the bear costume.
It was amazing.
I mean, it looked a little warm, and there was like a little like. Fat dig directed at Sister Beach, where they're like, "Are you gonna have to let your bear costume out again?"
Well, that was in the first one
like,
too. That was the fool costume.
Was it?
Yeah, they like pretty much line for line. He's like, "Well, it does seem to shrink a bit every year."
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, I mean, Sister Beach kind of rolled with it. I don't know. Oh, sorry. So as far as what animal I would dress as. Either the bear or one of the bees. I thought the little bee costumes were kind of cute.
Sure.
What about you?
Little, blind melon. I think I would not be an animal. I would be the fool. I liked the fool in the 73.
That was a fun costume.
Especially when when Nic Cage was in there. No, when Officer Howie was in there, and Lord Summerisle was like, "Be more jolly. What are you doing?"
Oh, also, like, there was definitely not the same kind of theatrical danger in the 06 one. Like, in 73, they have that sword.
Yeah.
Like, vice that they keep, like, ooh, are we going to chop your head off? I really thought you would have been the Salmon of Knowledge.
Well,
I liked that. I liked when that guy just called out, "I'm the Salmon of Knowledge." So, at the end, at the climax, obviously there is the titular Wicker Man. And they're fairly similar in some ways between the two, but which one do you think was more effective, more scary, or...
Well, I'm going to kind of give it to 73. Because in some ways it was a lot... It seems like it was a bit more shocking back then, because it's sort of a postmodern ending for a movie to have, the main character buy it. And yeah, it was that like sort of theatrical dancing around it, whereas in 2006 everyone was just sort of like standing there looking at it.
Yeah, I think Ellen Burstyn gives like kind of a half-hearted, "We want our harvest," or whatever. But yeah, I agree with you. The 73 version, well, I liked that it was a little bit more like they kind of forced Howie up into it, like, and he had to go. I I thought, like, if there wasn't a fire involved, it was kind of a cute little, I don't know, there's a little door, and he just, like, had a little space to hang out, and he had some, like, chicken friends that were nearby. But then, obviously, the fire starts. But they drew it out a lot more in 73. Like, he starts praying or singing some Christian song.
Yeah, and he yells, like, you will all burn, and blah, 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 blah. He has, like, he's a good comeback.
Yeah, whereas, like, in 06, they just kind of, like, break his leg and then hoist him up in there. And then the little girl, Rowan, comes out and has, like, the little flame. And he's like, no, Rowan, don't, no. And, like, she doesn't listen to him.
Kids.
But, yeah, I definitely think the edge on this one also goes to 73.
All right. And what were your, final reactions?
So, I guess for this one, I will say both get a stare factor of really 0. I mean, in the end, it's like kind of a bumbling cop who dies, bumbling male cop. So I never really felt like any personal verisimilitude between myself and the burnt man at the end. So 0, stare factor of 0. But I will say 73 entertainment factor, like 9. I was really into it. I had a lot of fun. The songs were engaging. At first, like after like the third song, I was like, wait, are there too many songs? And then they did the Maypole song, and I was like, I'm back in. Yeah. This is great. Perfect amount of songs. The 06 version, entertainment factor, I mean, really a 4, and I'm giving it a 4 just because I think you see Nic Cage ride his bike 4 times. So he gets 1 point for each bike ride.
Yeah, it has a little, how did this get made, sort of so bad it's good. Yeah. I think at the end of the day, there are 2 kinds of movies. There are Nic Cage movies, and there are movies without Nic Cage. And this, the 2006 one had him. And that was a thing. But it sort of like became the whole movie. Like his personality really takes over the movie in a lot of ways. Yeah. That's why I thought it would be interesting to put him up against
Christopher Lee.
Yeah, to put him against Christopher Lee would have been really interesting, I think, to have this deep voiced baritone Dracula guy. But we get what we had. So yeah, 0-0. I would say 73. I'll give like an 8, and 2006. I'll give like a 3. Yeah, 73 was just like a fun ride, and the fact that the cop was such a kind of pill made everything else seem so much more sort of ridiculous and fun and kind of groovy, hippie groovy. I liked it, and I'm a man who likes to enjoy the human form in all of its many shapes and sizes.
Yeah, well, I mean, I agree with you, and that's why I really love seeing Nic Cage's little legs in his shorts. Okay. So next week, we are checking out The Ritual from 2017. This movie is streaming on Netflix, so, and it is sort of a horror mystery. I know that it stars Rafe Spall. Is it just Spall? Rafe Spall.
Ooh, another Rafe.
Yeah. So we'll be checking that out. In the meantime, you can follow us on Instagram at The Horrible Idea. We're also on Twitter at HorriblePod. You can, and we would love it if you would give us a rate and review on Apple Podcasts. But you can also find us on Spotify or Stitcher, basically wherever you want to listen.
And if you have any interesting facts about any Wicker Men or Wicker, furniture, or if you just want to chat, just say hi, Or if you have a suggestion for a movie that might scare us, you could let us know on Twitter or email us at thehorribleidea@gmail.com. Don't be scared. We're cool. We're not going to, have a one-night stand and then come back 12 years later and lure you to an island and then, through a complex array of lies and chicanery, trick you into consensually dying.
And then kick you in the chest with our hereto unknown karate skills like Lili Sobieski.
Yeah. Enjoy the apples.
See ya.
Oh, no, not the bees! Not the bees! Ah!